Hello and welcome to the Satluj TV Podcast. Now, we often talk about two-tier justice in India, and that is the subject of today's podcast with my regular guest, Dr. Grewal, MD. And of course, in the context of this, we often see those who are clearly guilty of very serious crimes, including rapes, murder and such, freed on parole on a regular basis. And yet we see so-called political prisoners, people like Amritpal Singh, for example, imprisoned indefinitely, never to see the light of day, potentially ever again. Well, to discuss this two-tier justice in what is supposedly the world's largest democracy, I am joined indeed today by Dr. Singh Grewal, MD. Dr. Grewal, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us once again today.
Good morning. Webji ka khalsa, webji fateh hanger. So, there's a convicted murderer, rapist called Ram Rahim. He was recently released on 40-day bail. So I said, how is that possible? So then I tried to look into, and this is what we're going to talk. So convicted yet free, that's the thesis. Convicted yet free, elected yet jailed. So this is the paradox of justice system in India. How can a convicted rapist and a murderer be repeatedly released on parole while an elected member of parliament remains in jail? Question is not about ideology or party politics. It concerns the integrity of justice system, where the law in India is applied equally. India's constitution guarantees equality under law, yet recent developments are going in the wrong way. For suspicion alone brings incarceration, and this is not right. So let's look at the example, case one. Gurmeet Ram Rahim, they call him Baba, Dera Sacha Sauda sect, was convicted in 2017 of rape by a special CBI court. In 2019, he was further convicted of conspiracy in the murder of journalist Ram Chandra Chhatrapati. These are among the gravest criminal offenses, yet under Indian law, he is released on bail frequently. So if we count all the time he has spent outside the jail, it has been almost 1 year. When do they release him? When the government needs him. When the government needs him in elections, etc. So they release him so he can help them. Severity of crime traditionally narrow the scope of discussion. In this case, discretion appears to have expanded. So he is a favorite of the government, helps them in elections, and he gets out even being convicted for murder. Let's look at case number two. Amritpal Singh, elected in 2024 as a member of parliament from Punjab, while detained under National Security Act. He won that parliament membership with the largest majority. NSA allows people to be locked in for 12 months. Authorities must see the individual as a threat to national security or public order. Preventive detention is allowed under Article 22. It was to be used very rarely. Amritpal Singh has not been convicted of any crime. I want to emphasize, he is not convicted of any crime. He stays in detention under executive authority, not a court decision of guilt. Reports say he cannot take part in parliamentary session. They don't let him go even participate in the parliament for discussion. So yes, they don't let him go to the parliament. But what does that mean? That means the hundreds and thousands of people who elected him, they are not allowed to be heard or represented in the parliament. So this is not excluding him. This is excluding the population who he is representing. So this is a gross injustice. Preventive detention differs legally for punitive incarceration. Prolonged detention without trial often amount to a punishment in practice. So it's almost 3 years. In the state, if the state possesses sufficient evidence then they should prosecute him and they should punish him if he had done anything illegal. They're just holding him because they don't like him, because he's talking Khalistan. So this is wrong, and the justice system in India is very selective, and there's a selective leniency and selective severity. Convicted rapists, murder are permitted repeated parole and release from prison, reflecting discretionary leniency despite proven guilt. Meanwhile, unconvinced elected representative remains in prolonged detention, facing strict measures based only on suspicion, not a judicial verdict. Okay? Difference enforcement hurts public confidence in equal law for all. Upendra Bakshi notes that constitutional democracy's legitimacy depends not just on laws, but on how evenly they enforce. Mercy, remission, and application. Indian judicial system has affirmed that even those convicted of grave crimes may benefit from remission. However, the elected people can stay in jail. Preventive laws in Punjab. Punjab's insurgency period saw the widespread use of extraordinary statutes, including the TDA, TADA, unlawful UPA. Insurgency subsided in 1990, yet preventive laws such as NSA remain in use. There were some young people, they had a book or some pages literature on referendum, they were jailed. Scholars warn that using emergency powers in normal time can lead to their normalization. So it will become normal behavior. People think this is a normal to do that, and that's very dangerous in society. When officials transform extraordinary measures into ordinary administrative practice, they risk eroding constitutional safeguards. Democratic implication. Democracy depends not on elections, but on representation and due process. So due process is denied to the constitution of Khadur Sahib, where Amrapal is elected. So they are not only putting him in jail, they have excluded the large population from being represented in that parliament. So, conclusion, the selective application of law is very dangerous, and society has to do something to end it. And I don't think the current government, BJP government, is interested in enforcing the law. They are basically the one who are responsible for doing this. So what are they doing? The justice applied conditionally. Politics shaped liberty outcome. Sikh political identity is scrutinized. If you are a Sikh, you are suspect and you can be in jail. Equality before law is a compromise. Conclusion, selective leniency erodes legitimacy. Preventive punishment damages democracy. Rule of law requires equal application. Urgent need for reform. I don't think we can expect any reform from this RSS BJP government. This is very dangerous, how the society is moving in that direction. And I think this is my concern. I want to bring it to the attention of people in this country and see how the justice system is working in India.
I think, Dr. Grewal, of course, as you spoke then, many examples of this strike me immediately. I mean, I can immediately even think of a British citizen, Jagtar Singh Johal, who's been in prison now for nearly 9 years under this regime. Of course, there's the Bandi Singhs. There is, of course, Amritpal Singh and many of his colleagues, likewise, who reside in jail in India, still under questionable, not even charges in some cases, have literally just been detained arbitrarily. Even the United Nations has actually said themselves they are arbitrarily detained. In other words, there is no normal due process of the rule of law that justifies keeping these people in prison. So it is very clear, Dr. Grewal, that India has gone down the authoritarian route. It has weaponised the judicial system. And we've seen this once before, certainly in the 20th century. And of course, I'm referring to 1930s Germany. Once you start weaponising the judicial system for political reasons, it all starts going downhill from there.
Yeah, look at the other example. Some people were in jail, implicated in Rajiv Gandhi's murder. They have been released from the jail in Tamil Nadu. So they have completed their sentences. The government decided it was enough. But there are several Sikhs who were involved in this struggle after 84. And they have completed their sentences that they were supposed to complete according to whatever the charges was against them. They are still not being released. The people protesting on the street for more than a year, demanding that they should be released, but there is no action. Some of the action can be taken by the Punjab government, but the Punjab government is so weak. When they are threatened, if you disobey the central government, we will suspend and institute governor's rule. So basically, the Punjab doesn't have a government. It's a puppet government. It's a colonial Raj. So the people who have completed their sentences, there are many names, they are not allowed to go free. So why are they in jail? There's only one thing I can explain, because they are Sikhs. Sikhs in India have no right. We are not recognized equal. And the only solution to this is a Sikh country, free Sikh country, where the constitution is based on Sikh principles. I think under this government, in this rule, in India history from 47 onward, everything is getting worse for the Sikhs. Economically, socially, justice system, I think everything is working against the Sikhs. And it's very, very sad and dangerous. The Sikhs need to understand and move towards the solution.
An often outcry, of course, relates to the events of the 1980s and 1990s, where there are many people who still walk free today, those who haven't passed away naturally since the time, but there are those who were behind the Sikh genocide of November 1984, and yet, for example, Sajjan Kumar recently just been acquitted again. Justice delayed is justice denied. So many of these people have managed to walk free for most of their natural lives, and only finally in the 2020s are they facing justice. And even when they do, they are basically acquitted, or they serve negligible sentences. So once again, this outcry for justice, it can only be satisfied by a nation like Khalistan actually seeking justice on its own terms, because India certainly isn't delivering it, is it?
No. Look at the example. The young people were put in jail because there are some papers showing support for referendum or Khalistan, or support for Gurpatwant Pannu, whatever. So what is the problem? They didn't commit any crime. They didn't hit anybody. They didn't start any violence. And this couple of days ago, this guy, BJP leader, is with a gun. He's on a video saying, I'm going to shoot the Muslim. He's not arrested. Law is the same in the country, but nothing is going to happen to him. He probably may become a minister, a chief minister, if BJP comes. So this is how law is a differential. It's different for Muslim, different for Sikhs, and different for minorities.
Indeed, and I think even going back to the cultural argument, in our earlier podcast, we talked about how the culture shapes a nation's economy. A nation's culture also defines its judicial system. And I think it's very telling in India, for example, as I've discovered, that most police stations in India have a torture cell. And it is very clear that people who are swept up in the street by the police, and particularly Sikhs, and we've got many examples of this that have happened in recent years, are taken back to police cells and they are tortured. Again, this is something that should not be present in a 21st century nation, certainly a nation that is aspiring for, certainly for a seat at the top table. Likewise, again, another argument for Khalistan. I suspect there will be no torture cells in any Khalistani police station.
There were nobody hanged during Maharaja Ranjit Singh's Raj. That's unique, right? So what do you say the torture of the police? This is going on for a long time. So one of the good judges, Justice Vance, a human rights activist, we knew the story, but he also told me personally, the police, when they arrest, they torture, they get conviction out of somebody. And then when they go to court, the good judges already know that this is a coercion. So they will set aside. They would not act on that. But majority of the judges these days, I think they listen to the government. One good story, not about India, but just the society we were talking about. Justice Kennedy, who was a U.S. Supreme Court judge, has written his biography recently. Somebody was talking about it. I decided to read a book, and very interesting book, okay? So I'll give you one example from what we're talking. So Justice Kennedy has gone a few times to Russia and to have, participate in the conferences on jurisprudence and learn their system. There's a cultural exchange, government exchange level. So the two examples I'm going to share. So he's going for some conference where he's going to speak, and the time is of essence. And one of the security officer, major level, is driving his car. And he's driving fast because, they are short of time. And the traffic cop stops him. This officer who's driving Justice Kennedy's car gets out, and he got some cash from his pocket and gave it to the cop, and they continued, and he made in time. So this is how the society works. Another example, some of the judges from Soviet Union are visiting US, and they're privately, they're talking, having lunch or dinner, whatever, and they're asking Justice Kennedy a question. So how does the government pass messages to you how to do certain decisions? And Justice Kennedy said, no, government doesn't tell us how to decide. It's up to the judicial system. It's the judges make a decision based on the merit. And they say again, no, tell us how it works. They don't believe it, that he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth. So this is how the culture shapes the society, justice system, economic system, judicial system. It's very important to have the right culture. And the Indian culture is going from bad to worse, and I don't think there's any hope.
Indeed, I think that speaks volumes, and again, it really reinforces the argument that we always come round to argue, and that is the Sikh people, the Sikh community will never be free, it will never find justice without being able to control its own affairs. Of course, once the state of Khalistan is established, it becomes a sovereign nation. But on that note, we must end today's podcast. But thanks so much, as always, for joining us, Dr. Grewal. Always an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Angus. Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. And thank you for watching the Satluj TV podcast. We will see you next time.